Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The Queen of Sheba, a legendary figure shrouded in mystery, has long captured the imagination of people across the globe. Her story transcends continents and centuries, woven through the sacred texts of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, yet it is Ethiopia's ancient traditions that uniquely honor her with unparalleled reverence. To Ethiopians, the Queen of Sheba, known as Makeda, is not only a symbol of wisdom, power, and beauty, but also a maternal ancestral figure of their sacred royal lineage. Her journey from Sheba to Jerusalem is as much a spiritual quest as it is a historical one, a tale of curiosity, diplomacy, and divine interaction. As the story goes, she ventured to King Solomon's court in Jerusalem to test his wisdom with hard questions. But what unfolded was a profound connection between two great leaders, a bond that would forever shape the history of Ethiopia. Ethiopian biblical traditions have uniquely crafted the legacy of the Queen of Sheba, intertwining myth and reality in a way that speaks directly to the heart of their identity. These traditions, preserved in texts like the Keber Nagast and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church's ancient liturgies, have created a distinctly Ethiopian narrative about Sheba, one that diverges from the more familiar accounts found in the Bible, in which she is only briefly mentioned. But for the Ethiopian people, she is not just a visitor to Solomon's kingdom. She is a sovereign in her own right, a ruler of vast lands, and an integral part of the Ethiopian royal dynasty. In their version of the story, the Queen of Sheba's journey is far more than an exchange of gifts between two monarchs. It is the very foundation upon which Ethiopia's Christian monarchy was established. The tale of Makeda's legendary visit to Jerusalem begins with a story of a ruler seeking wisdom. But as we delve deeper into the Ethiopian tradition, we come to understand that her story is far more than a mere diplomatic mission. It is one of divine providence, cultural exchange, and the laying of the spiritual groundwork for the Ethiopian kingdom, which would go on to establish a long-lasting Christian empire. Ethiopian traditions paint the Queen of Sheba not only as a wise and curious ruler, but also as an emissary between the divine and the earthly realms. Her story has been a bridge for Ethiopians to connect their royal lineage to a greater divine purpose, and it is through her that Ethiopia traces its roots back to the ancient lineage of the Israelites. While the Queen of Sheba's name resonates throughout biblical history, her Ethiopian significance runs much deeper than most people realize. The biblical account, which appears in the 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles in the Old Testament, presents her as a woman of great wealth and wisdom who tests King Solomon with challenging questions. Upon witnessing Solomon's wisdom and the grandeur of his kingdom, she praises him and offers him lavish gifts, marking the beginning of a lasting connection between the two leaders. But for Ethiopia, the queen's visit is not simply about testing wisdom or exchanging treasures. It is about divine destiny, lineage, and an eternal bond between two royal bloodlines. The Ethiopian tradition surrounding the Queen of Sheba's visit goes beyond what is written in the Bible. The most famous and revered account of this story in Ethiopia is preserved in the Keber Nagast, a 14th century text that is central to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. According to this tradition, the Queen of Sheba, or Makeda as she is known in Ethiopia, did not just meet with Solomon to test his wisdom. She engaged with him in a much more profound and spiritual way. It is in the Keber Nagast that we find the foundational myth of the Solomonic dynasty, which has been central to Ethiopia's history for centuries. The story is rich with symbolism and meaning, intertwining Ethiopian beliefs with Jewish and Christian ideas. According to the Keber Nagast, after visiting Solomon, the Queen of Sheba became pregnant with his child, a son who would later be named Menelik. Menelik, in turn, is credited with founding the Ethiopian dynasty that would rule Ethiopia for centuries. This royal bloodline, according to Ethiopian tradition, is said to be a direct descent from King Solomon himself, making Ethiopia's emperors descendants of both the biblical line of David and the ancient monarchy of Sheba. This connection is what makes the Queen of Sheba's story so important to Ethiopia's identity and its claim to a special place in both the history of the Jewish people and the early Christian world. The Keber Nagast goes further to describe the events that led to Menelik's return to Ethiopia. When he was a young man, Menelik visited Jerusalem to meet his father, King Solomon, and upon his departure, he took with him the Ark of the Covenant, the most sacred and powerful symbol of the Jewish faith. The Keber Nagast explains that the Ark was brought to Ethiopia to ensure that the divine presence would remain with the Ethiopian people and to solidify the link between the Solomonic dynasty and the sacred traditions of Israel. The Ark, which remains in Ethiopia to this day, has become an essential element of Ethiopian identity and national pride. It is said to be housed in the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Aksum, one of the oldest and holiest sites in Ethiopia. For the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Queen of Sheba's visit to Solomon is not merely a story of political intrigue, it is a sacred event that carries deep religious significance. The Queen is seen as a precursor to the Christian faith, as her union with Solomon and the birth of Menelik laid the foundation for the Christian monarchy in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Church teaches that the Queen of Sheba's faith and devotion to God, as well as her deep respect for Solomon's wisdom, foreshadowed the acceptance of Christianity by the Ethiopian people centuries later. In this context, the Queen's visit is seen as a symbolic moment in the history of Ethiopia's relationship with God, as she sought out Solomon not just for knowledge, but for divine truth. Throughout the centuries, the Queen of Sheba has remained an icon of feminine strength, wisdom, and beauty in Ethiopian culture. She is celebrated in art, literature, and religious ceremonies, and her image has been immortalized in the churches and monasteries scattered across Ethiopia. Her story continues to inspire Ethiopians to this day, embodying the virtues of leadership, intellect, and spirituality that are central to the nation's identity. She is not just a biblical figure. She is a national heroine, a woman whose legacy is woven into the very fabric of Ethiopia's history and culture. The Queen of Sheba's significance extends beyond the borders of Ethiopia, however. Her story has had a profound impact on the wider world, influencing various cultural and religious traditions throughout the centuries. In the Jewish and Christian traditions, her visit to Solomon's court is seen as a sign of the recognition of Solomon's wisdom. In an Islamic tradition, she is regarded as a wise and powerful queen who seeks to understand the true faith. The biblical account of her visit has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music, and her legacy continues to resonate with people of many faiths and backgrounds. In modern times, the Queen of Sheba's story has been embraced by Ethiopians as a symbol of national pride and identity. Her connection to the Solomonic dynasty, which ruled Ethiopia until the fall of Emperor Haile Selassie in 1974, has cemented her place as one of Ethiopia's most beloved historical figures. The Queen's story has also been used to promote Ethiopia's rich cultural heritage and its unique position in the Christian world. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which has its roots in the ancient Christian traditions of the Ethiopian highlands, continues to honor the Queen of Sheba as a symbol of divine wisdom and a key figure in Ethiopia's religious and political history. As we reflect on the Queen of Sheba in Ethiopian biblical traditions, we see that her legacy is one of great importance, not just for Ethiopia, but for the world at large. Her story is a testament to the power of wisdom, the importance of divine guidance, and the enduring connections between cultures, religions, and peoples. For Ethiopians, she remains a powerful and timeless figure, whose story continues to shape the nation's identity and inspire future generations to seek knowledge, wisdom, and spiritual truth. In conclusion, the Queen of Sheba's place in Ethiopian tradition is both profound and enduring. Through her legendary visit to King Solomon, she brought forth a divine connection between Ethiopia and the ancient Israelite monarchy, ensuring the Ethiopian royal family's place in both history and the sacred texts of Christianity. Her legacy is not just a story of power, beauty, and wisdom, but also a narrative that intertwines with the very spiritual soul of Ethiopia, a soul that continues to thrive and grow through the centuries. The Queen of Sheba, as portrayed in Ethiopian biblical traditions, stands as a beacon of divine wisdom, courage, and leadership, an enduring symbol of Ethiopia's rich history and profound connection to the divine.